Cogongrass Road Crew Training with support from Stripling Incorporated. Cogongrass is one of the world's 10 worst weeds and has actually been called the perfect weed because it can grow in so many areas, from wide open spaces in full sun to deep shade. It excludes all the understory vegetation when it occupies the site, and it also becomes an extreme fire hazard as it develops over time. And unfortunately, it's now moving into Georgia. It can spread very easily along highway rights of way. We have other invasives that are probably better known in the state, such as privet and kudzu, but Cogongrass is a fairly new plant for many managers to deal with. It is a federal noxious weed. That means it's illegal to bring the material into the state or transport it throughout the state. Importantly, it's a fire hazard, it has no value for wildlife, and it makes management of traditional forest crops in other areas very difficult. And unfortunately, it's difficult to control once it's established. And from a manager's standpoint, it's very easily spread by wind and equipment, which means that a lot of our standard highway maintenance activities can really increase the spread of this particular weed. It is a fairly unique plant. It has some very key characteristics that allows us to distinguish it from other plants. It has a very coarse serrated leaf edge. In fact, it feels like it will cut you if you draw your finger along the edge of the leaf. And it has a white midrib that is often off-center. However, there are other grasses that you will typically find growing along rights of way that will have that characteristic, so that alone is not a good diagnostic characteristic. The real key is that it forms a very dense mat of roots or rhizomes, and this is what allows it to become very competitive. So in doubt, we can often just dig up a clump and examine the root system to determine whether or not it is Cogongrass. It has very fine seeds that will blow with the wind and spread very easily by being picked up on equipment. This is often what you'll see in the spring and early summer. Now, it does give us an advantage to find Cogongrass because we have no other plant that flowers like this at the early spring. So if you see something that has this type of seed head with the white flower starting in early spring, it's very likely that it is Cogongrass. We don't have any other plants that will look like this at this time of the year. This is a typical situation that you will see along a right-of-way, quite often growing along the edge of a forest stand or a wooded stand where perhaps it got started and is now growing out into the right-of-way. Cogongrass will grow on many sites. You will find it in pastures, forests, ditch banks, certainly along roadsides. It will grow in any site that is not under annual cultivation or is permanently wet. So it will grow right up to the edge of a permanent wetland. It will grow in ditches that are only flooded intermittently. It's also salt tolerant, so it can grow down in coastal areas as well. This is what you're typically going to see on a right-of-way area. In the upper left side, that circular patch in flower is very typical of what you would see. Infestations start out as small circular spots and then will continue to grow over time, and they can encompass the entire right-of-way. As you see on the lower left side, that very light green color, that's a good diagnostic characteristic that will tip you off to the presence of Cogongrass. It just has a different color look to it than any other grass you're going to see along a right-of-way. And in the winter, when we get some cold weather and shorter days, it will brown up and even turn a reddish cast when we get a good killing frost. And so it has some very unique color characteristics that help us determine what Cogongrass looks like in the stand. This is what you might see in a very large infestation. Cogongrass will completely exclude all other herbaceous vegetation, so you will have a spot that is composed of nothing but Cogongrass. And while this may not look to be such an issue, it grows much more rapidly than other grasses that you would manage along a right-of-way. So if this is mowed, it grows back very quickly, so your mowing schedule would have to be accelerated if you've got Cogongrass growing along a right-of-way. It also is very easily moved with other right-of-way management activities, moving rock, gravel, soil, those types of things, even putting in signs. Can introduce Cogongrass if you're moving material that was infested with either seeds or rhizomes. This is often what you're going to see in Georgia. Most of our infestations started over in forestry activities, typically site prep, tree planting, or thinning operations that would the grass was brought in from a bit of seed or rhizome on equipment that was operating in areas where Cogon grass was present. It was then transferred to the new site, gets started in the woodlands, and grows out to the right-of-way as you see here. You can see the unmowed area on the side of the fence, and in the foreground you can see an area where it has already been mowed on the right-of-way. Cogon grass is an extreme fire hazard. It burns much hotter and more intensely than other grasses that you would find along right-of-way areas. And it also creates a smoke management problem. It will burn green, so it is an issue with having that grass close to right-of-ways from a public safety issue as well. The one thing that we want to try to stay away from is spreading this with our management activities along rights-of-way. Here's a stand that was in flower that was mowed, and unfortunately what happens is the seed heads will be picked up by equipment and transferred from site to site, as well as other debris on the mower decks themselves. You can get, as you pull a deck along, you may actually pick up a bit of the rhizome or root system as it gouges into the soil, and so we can very easily transport that material. A lot of our spread has come from movement of contaminated soil that has bits of the roots or rhizomes in them. So when we're doing ditch maintenance, grading, transporting fill dirt, putting in culverts, all of those things can be a problem if we're dealing with contaminated soil. Even just a small piece of that rhizome can start a new infestation. They're very hardy and difficult to kill. Areas where we stockpile soil and other materials such as this along a highway right-of-way, if that soil is used for those purposes, we're going to have a new Cogon grass infestation. Here's a prime example. This is an area that is infested with Cogon grass. The county crew came in and cleaned out the ditch because it was clogged up. That soil was actually taken back to the county road shop and stockpiled on an area that was going to be used for other public work projects in the county. Fortunately, the county forester saw the area. They were able to locate the soil, and they were able to have that removed so that it didn't get out to create a new infestation. What we're asking for those working on rights-of-way is to learn the ID characteristics. We're providing you with a little card that has all of the key characteristics on it, as well as the phone numbers to report the infestation. This gives you the characteristics that you can easily use to determine whether or not you suspect Cogon grass. And be sure to report anything that you think might be Cogon grass. There are a few lookalikes out there. We'd rather go and confirm that it was not Cogon grass than to miss a spot that was Cogon grass. This time of the year, in the early spring through very early summer, we're looking for those silvery white flower seed heads. Again, we have no other plant that has that type of flowering characteristic in the early spring. Look for leaves that will be a yellowish green in color, and certainly you can look for that very thick mat of roots or rhizomes in the soil. If you suspect it from the flowering or the color characteristics in the spring, mark the infestation and keep the equipment out of it. Don't mow or grade or move any soil from that area until we are sure that it is free of Cogon grass. Now typically you're just going to find a small spot. It's not likely that you'll find a large area within a right-of-way that will be infested with Cogon grass. Report that to your supervisor, and they will then in turn contact the county extension office and the forestry commission office, and someone will come out to confirm that. Once confirmed, the forestry commission typically will begin treating those, and we generally will apply some flowering suppression treatments in early spring, or we will begin eradication treatments in the fall. For more information, you can go to the website cogongrass.org to look at current distribution of Cogon grass throughout the state.